listening to the Zach Lowe Show, presented by FanDuel. America's #1 sportsbook has made it easier than ever to get in on the action during the NBA Finals. And with live betting, the tip-off is just the beginning. Look for the live SGP tab on the FanDuel Sportsbook app and build your bet slip. Then sit back and enjoy the game as you track the outcome of your parlay right in the app. If you don't already have it, download the FanDuel app today and make every moment more. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available, and listen to the end of this episode for additional details. Must be 21 and over in present in select states, or 18 and over in present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. I have not weighed in on the Desmond Bane trade, Father's Day trade. Rude behavior by two presidents of basketball operations, both of whom are fathers of children, and rude, just rude, and waited a day. But I think transitioning from a series in which Pascal Siakam is playing a critical role to this trade is fitting, because it's going to get comped to the Mikal Bridges trade. It's going to get comped to the Gobert trade. It's going to get comped to one of or both of the Kevin Durant trades, and just in terms of how many picks the Orlando Magic forked over to acquire a player who has never made an all-star team. I do think he probably would have made one, Desmond Bane, if he had been playing in the East this whole time and not in the West.
Yes.
So 4 first-round picks, one of which is number 16 in this draft, one of which is very likely to be Phoenix's pick next year, and then 2 future Magic picks and a pick swap. Top 2 protected, I believe. The Magic picks are unprotected down in the out years. KCP goes from Orlando to Memphis. Cole Anthony goes from Orlando to Memphis. And the Magic now have Desmond Bane on their team. And I think the reaction, I gauged the reaction yesterday and just sort of looked and wondered, what are people thinking of this? And you knew right away it was going to be 4 picks for Desmond Bane. Well, Kevin Durant isn't going to go for 4 picks. And I look at it, well, I'll actually, what did you think of the trade?
I was shocked by it. I mean, real trades travel in silence. That's the J.A. Donde quote, but I love it. I had no idea this was coming. I had no idea this was coming. And at first my reaction was, oh my God, that's way too many picks. But then you start to think about it and you're like, actually, no, I could talk myself into this. There's some out years on the Bane deal. This is not a guy who's got 1 year left. And then you're saying to yourself, what was the glaring weakness on this roster, on the stat sheet for the Orlando Magic? It is everything that Desmond Bane is. Reliable 3-point shooting, flexible guard play. As soon as Suggs went out, the Orlando Magic's defense went from mediocre to awful. They just couldn't get it going. Desmond Bane, we saw in Memphis with John Morant missing so much time, he could run the offense. I think this is a fair price to pay. And I'd go so far as to say, I talked to somebody in Orlando today, Zach, and they said it's time. This is our chance. We're not going to get a big free agent here.
Thank freaking God it's time. They haven't had a top 20 offense in the NBA since 2012. This is one of my favorite stats in the NBA. They're the Joe DiMaggio of shitty NBA offenses. The top 20. There are only 30 teams in the NBA. Dude. You know how hard that is? How many years in a row is that? That's 13 straight years of bottom 10 offenses. It's about freaking time.
Stat. Yeah, that's a crazy stat. And recently that's been driven by anemic 3-point shooting. I think they were last in 2 of the 3 main categories of 3-point shooting last season. And so
they're, you know what they're last in? Clanking, just clanks. There's so many of their threes like, ooh, that one hurt to watch. Like that hurt the rim, that hurt the backboard. That didn't even hit anything. Jonathan Isaac from the corner missed everything somehow. It hurts my eyes. That's what they lead the league in, hurting my eyes while shooting jump shots.
And KCP is a character here. They thought this was their 3-point shooter, and for whatever reason, it didn't work. He didn't make the exact same shots in Orlando that he'd been making in Denver. And so getting off of him, Cole Anthony, okay. The Phoenix pick is the prize, and I think maybe Orlando expects to be, hey, if you have any faith in Orlando, all the picks they gave up are 20 to 30, right? And so I don't think it's that bad. in terms of the picks out. And I love Desmond Bane for this team. So I came around in the last 24 hours of being like, you know what? This is actually a pretty good deal for the Magic.
I liked it right away. And I don't regret liking it right away. It's a lot of picks. It's a lot of picks. It's all the picks, pretty much. Like
how annoyed were you though that this disrupted your Father's Day?
I didn't care. It's fine. Like
what is you were a little annoyed.
I'm jokingly annoyed. I like it's a lot of picks. It's all the picks they can trade. Basically, they retain their own picks in the intervening years, so they can trade swap rights on those picks, which are not going to be valuable because the Magic are going to be good. And I think people throw around the term opportunity cost, like what's the opportunity cost of this? And I think the opportunity cost is much less like who's the other great player that the Orlando Magic are going to acquire via trade? Who's it going to be? Desmond Bane is perfect for this team. He is an A+++ shooter off movement, off the dribble, off movement, in transition, with very little space required to get his shot off. He, as John Morant's been injured a lot, has taken over the offense quite a bit in Memphis, expanded his pick and roll repertoire. He's not someone you want to be a number one option. Guess what? The Magic have multiple people they'd like to be number one-ish options, including Paolo Banchero, especially Paolo Banchero. They don't want one of those. They could have gone after Trae Young. They didn't really do that. He's not a defensive liability. I think he's a decent to good defender. That's what separates him from a guy like Anthony Simons, who they definitely sniffed around and concluded this player at this higher price was better for their team. He is purely additive to everything that the Orlando Magic are. And it is a lot of picks. But as you said, the reason I brought up Siakam is like 3 first-round picks for Siakam. They're all crappy picks. All of them are crappy picks. It was Bruce Brown and 3 first-round picks, which is an interesting equivalent because Bruce Brown was not part of Indiana's long-term future, nor were KCP or Cole Anthony in this case. And that's a big deal, too. They did not deal anything from that they really cared about, to be honest, with apologies to Cole Anthony, who I think was underutilized last year. And do you think the Pacers even remember the 3 first-round picks they traded for Pascal Siakam? They don't care. Now, 4 is one more than 3, and then they throw a pick swap on there. It's a lot of picks. Desmond Bane is turning 27, I think, quite soon. He's very young for a trade like this. It's one fewer pick than the Knicks gave up for Mikal Bridges. Some of these teams just go get their guy and bet on themselves. And I don't know who the other guy was that they were going to get that checked all these boxes. If there is an opportunity cost, I think it's the ability to do the little trades, like the Celtics trading 1 first-round pick and a swap for Derek White, like those kind of trades that pop up on the fringes and that turn into the trades that really make your team pop in the end. Those trades are hard to make and rare in their own ways. Like, I don't mind this at all. And, there are teams in the NBA who are ready before you realize they're ready. And I don't mind the Magic betting on themselves as one of those teams. Now, I think they're going to still come into next year behind Cleveland, behind Indiana, and probably behind New York, in terms of pure talent. But I saw someone throw around, well, they could be next year's Pacers. I don't think they're going to make the finals next year, but we all know there's a void in the East now with Tatum injured. Yeah. And there's always a void in the East. The East is just a void in and of itself. It might be a little better than people expect next year, but and maybe the Magic believe they can step into that void to some degree. They are Pacer-ish in the sense that they have an identity that is very hard to play against. It's the polar opposite identity of the Pacers, which is all happy-go-lucky, pass and cut and move and be fast. The Magic's identity is we're just going to beat the shit out of you the entire game, and it's going to be miserable to try and score points against us. I don't know. I don't mind it. This is the going rate for a player of this caliber. And I don't mind it. We'll talk about the Grizzlies end of it in a second, but anything else strike you about this one?
I think from Orlando's perspective, the thing that is also analogous with the Siakam deal is you don't have access to free agency in some of these markets. I always say that. You have to be really aggressive in the trade market if you want to get a Desmond Bane or a Pascal Siakam to move to Indianapolis or Orlando. And so I think sometimes you have to overpay to get these guys. That's just the nature of the NBA marketplace right now. I love their starting 5. I love
Let's just go over it so people remember. Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Wendell Carter Jr.
I love them.
We should say that our love of this lineup is contingent on Jalen Suggs not missing half of every NBA season. That seems like a minor detail, or it's being treated like a minor detail, like everyone's excitement. You kind of have to have the guy play at some point.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So in a vacuum where Jalen Suggs is playing and Paolo is doing his thing on offense and Franz is doing his thing and Wendell's getting the rebounds and Desmond Bane is now giving them some 3-point shooting. I like them winning a lot of games in the East. I'm with you. Cleveland and Indiana are ahead of them right now. But anything can happen. And Indiana is proof of that. So I think they think they're ready. They told me today it's time. And that's what this move amounts to.
You know, if anything, I think the bench is going to be very interesting for them. Because we just said they're starting 5. Their bench is Anthony Black, who I really like.
Yeah.
Really like. Needs to shoot it better. We all know that, but he does a lot of things that are very interesting. A good backup center, whether that's Goga or Mo Wagner coming off an ACL tear. Everything else in between that makes me nervous. And when I'm already kind of nervous about guys like 7 to 11 on your team, and you're talking about winning 50 games, and one of your starters misses half of every NBA season, makes me a little bit nervous. But the good news is a lot of those guys are young. So, like, I like the De Silva kid. I thought showed some potential to be a good regular season player. They do have the 26th pick in this draft. Maybe they'll get somebody there. Isaac, I mean, I don't even know what to expect out of Isaac. Is he physically capable of playing more than 15 minutes a game in 80 games? I have no idea. And you know, Jet Howard is still on the team. It doesn't really ever play. So that makes me a little nervous. But, you know, the interesting thing about these trades is Kevin Pelton and I did this over at ESPN a couple years ago. There didn't used to be any trades like this with like 3 or 4 or 5 first round picks getting thrown around. There were more. We did the research. There were more between 2012 and 2022, I think, than there were in the entire history of the NBA prior to that, or from the merger to that. And it's just kept going since then. And you think about some of the reasons why. I think the shorter contracts and the player empowerment era, teams are like, we just have to win when we have a chance to win. Mm-hmm. And there's a sense that the league has been pretty open since the Warriors broke up, since Durant left the Warriors. There's a sense that between the play-in and the lottery odds changes, like that the incentives have just generally skewed toward winning. And I think if everybody feels those same sort of pressures, and I've written about this before, if you fling away 4 picks in a deal like this, you probably think in the back of your head, we can just do like the reverse to some other team that feels this aggressive in 3 years if this doesn't work out for us, and recoup some picks, maybe not our picks, but some picks. The our picks thing is a big deal, as we've seen with the Nets, and now with theoretical Giannis stuff about like getting your own picks back. But it's just interesting how often we're seeing just massive amounts of picks going around. And for the most part, it's teams that think they're going to be good, so their picks are not going to be very valuable. And I think Orlando is justified in thinking that of itself.
Yeah, well, one more layer to that is I think it's also and it's related to this marketplace idea that I have, is that the glamour markets are more than willing to rely on free agency, and the smaller markets know they can't. So there's like this economy of draft picks going from places like Los Angeles, the Lakers and the Clippers, to a smaller market like Oklahoma City or Indiana. The New York Knicks sending them out, you know, teams that can reliably count on free agency to add big names. They have this disposable relationship with first round draft picks. And then the smaller markets know they don't have free agency. They need all those draft picks to either build with or use in trades, like we just saw with Indiana sending 3 to get Siakam, who's been very important to them, and then we just saw here with Bane. So I think there's a geography to this too, and we got to revisit that. That's a good concept, Zach.
The interesting thing about the Magic is, can they keep these 4 guys together salary wise, because Suggs' contract declines, because Franz is locked in, to 25% of a cap that was, as of this year, and his contract will not rise as much as the cap. And Bane's contract similarly was signed, 2 caps ago now or whatever, 2 cap years ago. They can pretty safely duck the second apron, maybe this entire run together. In some years, the first apron is going to be dicey, but not like unduckable. I think like even this year, they could just dump Gary Harris and get out of the second apron danger. But they're going to be a tax team a lot of the time, and we'll see what their appetite is for that. And a big thing to watch is Paolo Banchero, whether he makes All NBA this coming year, because that really, and again, I don't want to wax about this much more. It's nauseating to me that teams are put in positions in which they kind of have to root somewhat against their players achieving things, because the Cleveland Cavaliers got hammered financially by Evan Mobley winning a fantastic honor that everyone should be proud of him for winning Defensive Player of the Year. So that'll be interesting. The Zach Lowe Show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA Finals all come down to this, and FanDuel is turning the excitement up even more with an all-customer profit boost for every game of the series, as if you needed another reason to root for Game 7. Come on, let's go. Use your profit boost to bet which team will win, who's going to drop 30, or you can build a parlay for a shot at an even bigger payday. If your bet wins, you'll win even bigger, and then you can do it all again for the next game. If you don't already have FanDuel, it's not too late to get in on the action. Just visit FanDuel.com/Lowe, Lowe, to join today. That's FanDuel.com/Lowe to claim your profit boost for each and every game of this NBA Finals. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or over and present in select states, or 18 and over and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. This episode is brought to you by HubSpot. In the playoffs, extra possessions are everything. Same goes for growing a business, and HubSpot's customer platform gives you more chances to win. Breeze, their built-in AI, automatically takes care of marketing, sales, and service tasks so you can game plan for growth. It's easy, efficient, and most importantly, it's effective. Customers are cutting sales cycles in half and getting hours back each week. That's like turning those contested jumpers into clean looks at the rim. Visit HubSpot.com/AI to learn more.